So for the sleep cycle stages, Nalini, you actually informed me of them, which is there's 5 stages or 4 stages where there's a stage 1 where we fall asleep, right? And when we get drowsy, I know a lot of people struggle with just that, like falling asleep. You're in bed, you want to go to sleep, but you can't go to sleep. So it's often even hard to get to stage 1 for many of us. So that's when you actually fall asleep and you're feeling drowsy. Stage 2 is when your heart rate starts to slow down, and you're really kind of getting into a deeper, more stable sleep. So this is where you won't easily be woken up, right? Like you're kind of already in your sleep already. You're not just falling asleep. Stage 3 and 4 is a deep sleep where there's a lot of brain tissues and muscles that are being repaired. And this is where a lot of us don't know what's happening because we just think it's sleep and we don't realize all the stuff that's happening in our body while we're sleeping. That's really important for our brain development and emotional health, and that happens not until stage 3 and 4, and then there's REM, which stands for rapid eye movement. So this is where REM is where our dreams happen. And this is essential for learning and retaining memories. And it's a lot of the brain connections happen there. So this was something interesting that I learned, that when we're in REM, when we're in our deep, deep sleep, after stage 4 or during stage 4, this is when our brain cells connect to record memories. So whatever you've processed all day, you might have gone to school and you've learned all this new information, or you might have gone to dance class and you've learned all these new dance moves, or whatever has happened, and you've just learned so many things during this time in REM is when your brain cells are making the connections and they're recording memories. So if you don't get enough sleep, you didn't allow your brain to do that. You didn't allow your brain to make those connections, and you wake up and much of what was learned the previous day is no longer retained because you didn't allow it time to get into your memory in your brain. And which is so hard to understand because it's happening with unknowingly, right? So oftentimes, I used to be a victim of this. I would be proud that I only sleep 4 to 5 hours a day. I'm like, yeah, I can work all day and I can do this. But now I realize how ill-informed and misinformed that was, because I was actually losing out on so much because I was not letting myself sleep long enough. So yeah, that's just a very vague overview of the stages.
Yeah. Okay, so second question. What is the research behind the importance of having daily routines and rhythm for families and their children?
So I didn't know the importance of this until I had my own daughter. But there's a ton of research out there that proves that if we have daily routines, which include sleeping, right? Like if there's a certain routine, there's dinner and then there's something else, and then everyone does this and then we go to sleep, and you have this habit perhaps of always brushing your teeth or writing in a journal, whatever it is, everybody has a routine. If you're practicing that same routine every day, and if parents are helping their younger children get those routines, it creates more confident and secure humans. And the reason for that is our days are filled with so much that we are not prepared for. There's so much that comes up in our day that we may not even be ready for. So those daily routines and rituals or rhythms are kind of our safety net. Those are our pockets of predictability. We know this is always going to happen in this day, no matter what else happens, especially for the younger kids. When they're getting really emotional and they have tantrums like ages 5 and under, they need that. They need that predictability that I know every morning mommy and daddy do this with me, or every night this happens. As you become teenagers, I know that every Sunday our family does we go to the beach, you know, whatever it is, there's these certain routines and rhythms that makes us feel connected to the most important people in our lives and just feel more secure. There was a research done on preschoolers that connected how every one ritual or routine can increase the child's odds of socio and emotional health by 47%. That's almost 50%. And we know we need socio and emotional health to excel in academics and in life and in relationships. So, I mean, that's huge. You know, your sleep essentially and your daily routines influence how your brain works, how emotionally stable and healthy you are, and how you are in your social development, in your relationships with other people.
So like for me during like school, there were days where I get like a good 8 to 9 hours of sleep, but there were like some days where I was super busy and I'd only get like 3 hours of sleep. And so, Miss Amna, what is the optimal number of hours for teenagers, kids, and adults?
So for kids, and this is for kids under the age of, or 7 or under, it's 10 to 12 hours. So like my 5-year-old, she's been getting 12 hours sleep since forever. She sleeps really well, which I'm very jealous of. For kids between teens, it's again like 10 hours is a good number. So I think a lot of you said 9 to 10 hours. That's a really good number. For teenagers, you guys need at least 9 to 9.5 hours at least. But the average teenager, I believe, sleeps about 6 to 7 hours or 6 to 7.5 hours. So I feel you. And Nalinie, I can relate to you. I remember in high school, I used to fall asleep on my desk and wake up on my desk in the morning. It was insane. And for adults, it's 7 to 8 hours. That's a healthy amount of sleep for all of us.
Does sleep affect how well we perform at school? And how does sleep affect our mental health?
Yeah, sleep does affect how you perform at school. There's this incredible book called Nurture Shock, which blew my mind because something I thought that was okay was, you know, with my daughter and me, sometimes we'd sleep at 9 p.m. Sometimes on weekends we'd sleep at 11 p.m. And this book did a ton of research on how just 1 hour of sleep can affect your mental health, your academic performance, your emotional health, and even your physical health. You know, it can reduce, if let's say you're sleeping 7 hours, let's say you're sleeping 6 hours a day. If you just slept 1 more hour, which is 7 hours, so let's not even try to get to the 9-hour number. Let's just say 1 more hour, 7 hours. You would increase your academic performance. You would have more emotional stability. You would be less likely to have any physical illnesses, or 1 less hour of sleep is even linked to obesity, which was interesting for me. But here is why. So one thing we already talked about, right? Like if you have 1 more hour of sleep, you allowed your brain to process the stuff that happened that day. All the stuff you learned, everything that happened, you allowed it to make connections and actually register as memory in your brain. Otherwise, it's not going to stick. So even though you think you may have got it, if you don't allow your brain to rest and make those connections during your REM, it's not really going to stay. And then 2, I didn't know this, but the way our brain works is it processes all of the negative stuff of the day first, and then it processes all the positive stuff of the day later. So maybe you had a lot of issues or challenges, a fight with a friend, a fight with a mom, whatever it is. Your brain is processing all of that first. And most of us wake up after that. We don't let ourselves sleep long enough for our brain to process the positive stuff. And that influences our mindset, right? The way we see the world. So we wake up and the things that are fresh in our mind is everything that went wrong the day before. Give yourself 1 more hour of sleep, you'll allow a little bit more processing of the positive stuff of the day, and you'll wake up and you'll actually also be able to remember the positive stuff. So that was huge, because I'm a person who thought I naturally looked at everything that went wrong at the end of the day, and just sleep and, you know, of course, consciousness of your own mental and emotional health has helped me really focus in and hone in on a positive mindset. Okay, there was negative stuff, but what was the positive stuff? And you just can't physically do that if you didn't get enough sleep. That was very interesting to me.
That is cool. So what are some easy and effective tips for families struggling to enforce a bedtime routine?
So are we talking to parents, or are we talking to teenagers? I think most of the people here watching are kids, right?
Yeah, teens.
Yeah. Okay. If there are parents here who want to you know, create a more healthy routine, morning and evening routine, if you have older kids, I'd encourage you to do it as a family discussion. So it's not very dictatorship where it's like, this is how we're going to do our mornings and nights from now on. You know, I think it's really empowering when everyone's involved. It's like, all right, what do you think, Namrita? What do you think, Raghav? Or, you know, brother, sister, husband, let's create a plan together. I think that way you'll be setting yourself up for success a lot more. And routine and rhythm, you're not going to do it unless you're convinced that you have to, right? Like, so if you don't really believe that you need to have a routine and rhythm, it's not going to happen. So first, you just really need to maybe do your own research or ask me questions more on, why do I really need routine and rhythm, which we spoke a little bit about. You know, it helps us with our emotional health, our social health. It helps us feel safe and secure in our days. But if you're still not convinced, I would question if you really want to, because if you don't really want to, it's not going to happen. So first, just be committed, like, okay, I'm going to do this. And two would be, for nights, I believe the biggest part is we want to go to sleep, but we didn't let our body and our mind kind of wind down, right? So we were super active, we're doing all these things, everything was bright and alert, so much conversation, maybe noise, media, TV, phone, and then all of a sudden you go to sleep, the lights are off. Of course your brain is not ready to go to sleep. It's like, you can't just shock me into it. There needs to be a transition. The best way to do it is to follow the circadian rhythm, which is essentially the way the universe works. So when the moon comes and goes, and when the sun comes and goes, right? So as the sun is starting to set, something that was a tip I received from a parent-teacher workshop, which was really, really like gold for me, was you know, starting to wind down your house as the nature outside starts to wind down. So if the sun is starting to set and your living rooms and your bedrooms are full of bright lights, you're not matching the circadian rhythm of the universe. You know, you need to bring down the lights. If you have dimmers, if you have one less light you can have in the room, if you have candles, we love candlelight dinners now. Now our whole house is just dim, starting to with the night. Even when we go to our bedrooms, we have like these little lamps that have very soft lights, and in our bathrooms we just put on the shower light or the closet light, so the whole bathroom is not lit. So your body is naturally starting to wind down. For teenagers, I would encourage you to find a time, at least 2 to 3 hours before you want to go to sleep, to turn off your phone. Don't watch media, don't watch Netflix. And if you must absolutely do it, do the setting where the LCD light isn't on, because the LCD light, the screen light, it suppresses the release of your natural melatonin hormones. And our natural melatonin hormones are the ones who start telling our bodies, okay, we're tired, right? If you're watching the LCD screen light, your bodies are unable to register that it's tired, because it's telling you, no, it's really bright right now, and it's like kind of messing with your natural flow. So there's a setting on your phones and your computers that you could, I forget what it's called, but basically it's kind of like a blue light.
I think it's blue light, yeah.
Blue light, right? And that will help. So for us personally, we just don't do phones after dinner. Um, what else? Um, Less sugar and caffeine after lunch. If you have a sugar craving, have it during lunch. Don't do it closer to the night. Fruits, you know, a little chocolate, no problem. But if you're going to have like a huge Snicker bar or something like that, that might be too much. And then just winding down activities. If you're somebody who likes to walk, you can go for a walk. If you're somebody who maybe likes to color, you can color something that's just kind of calming and soothing. Nothing too exciting, like playing video games or something like that. That's not going to help your body wind down. Did that help?
What are some morning rituals after we wake up that are essential for a mentally healthy and successful day?
Morning rituals for teenagers. What do you do every morning?
Well, see, I usually wake up really late, so I usually just wake up and I eat breakfast, and then like I'm off to do like whatever I have. Like that's all I do. Like I brush my teeth and I do that, but yeah, I just.
So do you usually wake up right before you have to do some or be somewhere or do something?
Well, like for school, I have school at like 8 a.m. So I wake up at like 7:55 or, you know?
Yeah. So right before you have to be there. I was the same way. You just, before I answer that question, you just reminded me of something I really wanted to share here. Is for teenagers specifically, in the same Nurture Shock book, there was this research done on the 1 hour of sleep, how just 1 hour of sleep can make such a big difference. And it was presented to a high school in a state in the United States. I don't remember which state. And this incredible high school is like, okay, this is interesting. Because what it was arguing was the way our school systems are organized are catered to adults. The 8 to 5 job was designed by adults, right? The 7 to 2 o'clock school was designed by adults years and years ago, like hundreds of years ago. And it was also that adults could get home in time to be with their family. There was no real thought of what is the best time for kids to come to school, right? And so this research now proves that, first of all, teenagers naturally, they're physiologically, they want to sleep later. Like it's just part of your system. You can't sleep as early as perhaps adults or kids can. So your natural melatonin just comes later. So when we're asking teenagers to get to high school by 7 or 8 a.m., we are going against their natural sleep cycle and asking them not to get enough sleep. So this study really advocates for schools to change their hours and start school 1 hour later. And this one school actually did it. It's like, okay, this is incredible research. And because it was proving the academic results, it was proving the emotional results, just everything. So the school did it, and then so they used to start at 8 a.m., they started at 9 a.m. instead. So they started school for all their high schoolers at 9 a.m. And within that year, all of their ACT scores, their SAT scores significantly increased, significantly. I used to have 7 a.m. Rehearsals for IPC, and I recently learned this. And right away, I sent this survey for everyone, like, when do you guys go to sleep? Because I realized I am also responsible for the students I work with. So if I'm asking them to be up at 7 a.m., I'm impacting their mental and academic health. So I thought that was really, really interesting. And I just wish all the schools did that. But that just also proves to the teenagers that if you did get 1 more hour of sleep, so if you slept an hour earlier, you would improve in your academics and you would improve in your emotional health. But going back to your question about morning routines. So my morning routine is limited to me, and I'm a mother, and I'm an entrepreneur. So My daughter wakes up at a certain time, and I want to wake up earlier. But in general, I believe the formula is to first recognize your challenges. How do you feel when you wake up 5 or 10 minutes before you have to be somewhere? You know, do you feel like you are in charge of your day, and are you getting ready for your day? Or are you kind of feeling like rushed and now you're just kind of catching up the whole day? You know, so I would just look at you, and maybe it's fine. You're like, you know, I kind of feel fine waking up 5 minutes before. Maybe that's fine for you. So then maybe what we need to pay attention to is your night routine. Like, do you feel you're rushing at the night? Do you feel you're stressed out at the night? What part of your day is very stressful and challenging for you? For me, it was my mornings, because I felt like I was trying to catch up the whole day. Because if I don't wake up way ahead of the day, it's just catch up, catch up, catch up, because there's too much to do as a mother and a, you know, a working mom. But perhaps for teenagers, it's different. Maybe you wake up and there's one or two things you really feel like you need to do. I would encourage you to do an emotional check-in. How do I feel right now? Maybe there's something from yesterday that's still bothering you. Journals are a great way to get that out, because I know teenagers don't necessarily like to talk about everything to everyone. So journal is a great trusted form to just talk your feelings out. So make a commitment to just have a journal by your bed and write one thought that comes to your mind. And the thing about habits is you can't do it when you feel like it. You got to do it every day. So every day, even if you're like, I don't really have anything to write about, just write one sentence. Be like, today's gonna be a great day. And you just write it. And then maybe the next day you're like, oh, I'm so mad at my dad. He did this, blah, blah, blah. And you just write it all down. You know, like, but you've made this commitment and this habit to release whatever might be in your mind and in your heart, right? So I would make that commitment either every morning or every night. I do this every morning. I like to do one thing for me. Like, what's that one thing I just want to do for me? And for me, that's coffee. Maybe you guys do that at night. Maybe there's like, I don't know, what's that one thing for you that just feeds you? That's your self-care that you get to do for you. Maybe you love to read books. Maybe you like to sing, you know, something that you just love to do. Like, find a day, night or morning or afternoon where you get to give yourself that. Yeah, so I think routines are very, very customized to you. I would be happy to share my routine, but I think for teenagers, I could help more if you kind of tell me your challenges more and what's important to you. What are some challenges teens have with sleeping or waking up? What are some things, or any of you guys, what are some things that are hard for you in terms of getting to bed or waking up, or you wish you could do?
For me, usually like if it's like a school night, I tend to like procrastinate. So I'm busy like, and I do my homework on my iPad. So I tend to like, I'm on my iPad at night and I'm like busy doing my homework. So after I finish, sometimes I like pass out, but like other times I just can't go to sleep. And then it makes it even worse in the morning. So yeah.
Because you were doing everything else, and then at the end of the night, now you have to do that one thing that you had to do, and now it's too late.
Yeah.
I feel you. You know, that's not even a teenage thing. That's an adult thing too. I do the same thing where I wake up and I have like 500 things I want to do, but there's this one most important thing I have to do. I won't do it. I'll do everything else around it, but I won't do that. And then when it's like 1 hour left, then I'm doing it. So another thing I've done, so it seems like teenagers, you guys tend to be most productive during the end of the day, right? So perhaps what I do in my mornings, because my most productive hours are in the mornings, perhaps you could take some of what I've learned about my mornings into your night routine, which is, let's say your brain and your physical self is the most productive from 6 to 8 p.m. Let's say that's your golden hour of the day. I would encourage you to turn your phones off, or your, you know, whatever it is during those 2 hours. If there's apps on your iPad, turn those off. Have some setting in there, like during those times you can't access them. And for me, even the phone off right here isn't enough. I need to put it in like a different room. Otherwise it's too attractive, right? And then I would look at everything you have to do, but look at that one thing that you must absolutely do. And that's what I do every morning. Like, there's 500 things I have to do, but what's the one thing I just have to do today? And start with that. Make a commitment for that for 2 weeks, then make a commitment for that for 1 month. And then it'll just become a habit. You won't even have to think about it. It'll just be like, that's my one thing, that I'm gonna do that first. It's gonna really help with your anxiety, your stress, and just your daily, health. Like, you'll just feel better. It's been a lifesaver for me, something that I learned from my husband, who is into personal development, where he's always writing, what's the one thing? What's the one thing? And so it's something that I would, since you shared that, Nalinie, I think that might help.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. I've also, I can't function the way these teenagers do. I can't wake up 5 minutes before and just be ready to go. There was a day and time, but I completely relate to that. I personally, I wake up around 4:30 or 5 every morning, and it's because I'm a slow riser, just like you. I open my eyes and I stay in bed for a little bit, and you just have to know who you are, right? This is how you are. And I don't like to talk right away when I wake up. I'm very mumbly, and people can't understand me if they got on the phone with me right when I woke up. And then there's just certain things, that you do to slowly wake you up that reach your soul and your spirit. I love quick reads in the morning that just inspire me, and then a prayer, and then that one thing for work. And whenever I wake up in a hurry and I have to get Nora to school or something, the whole day feels so exhausting because I just didn't give myself that time to just, fuel myself before I address the day. And Renu, what you mentioned about the napping is probably a very good tool for even teenagers, because I know, you guys are studying and working so hard the whole day. Power naps are very, very helpful. Pushing through is not going to help you succeed in whatever you're trying to do. Even if, like Renu said, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, I do that when I'm burnt out. Like, I can't go through the rest of the day if I don't take a quick nap right now. So I think that's a wonderful, wonderful tool to remember.
So something that, like, during the school year, I used to come home and I used to like sleep for like, I used to take a nap, but it was like a 2-hour nap, and I would wake up all like foggy and like just so out of it. And so I actually researched it, and I saw that we should only be taking like 30 minutes or less of naps. Otherwise, like, we're going to get into like our deeper stages, and we're not going to be able to wake up as like.
Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, that's a great point. I can relate to that as well. I didn't know that. So what was the recommendation? What's the?
Around like 30 minutes.
30 minutes. That's true. If I take it too long, I just want to keep sleeping.
Yeah.
For the rest of the day. I need to find out what my friend does. I wonder, because I don't think he sleeps just for 30 minutes. I feel like his nap is 30 to maybe an hour. I wonder what he does. I do think that these routines are very important. I think just playing it day by day is too stressful. So if you have the discipline and the willpower to do it, start creating that discipline now. Like, if you want to experiment with naps, figure out a time of day that you want to start taking your 15 to 30-minute naps and try it for 2 weeks. See if it helps. If you want to try to sleep for 1 more hour, start with 15 minutes. If you go to sleep at 11 or 12 p.m., say, okay, from now I'm going to sleep at 11:45 p.m. for a week, and then 11:30 p.m. Make it a very realistic goal, and do it, because you're going to thank yourself. When I'm in my 30s, so when I'm trying to do this stuff in my 30s, it's so much harder. If I did it at your age, it would be, it'd be a lot easier for me to do it. I'm trying to unlearn 30 years. You guys are trying to unlearn 15, 16, 17 years. That's a lot less relatively, right?
Yeah.
Because whenever I wake up in the middle of my sleep, I remember my dreams really well. What I know about that is it's usually around, for lack of a better word, stress or some sort of anxiety, when you wake up in the middle of the night and you can't go through the full sleep, there's something that's in your mind that's not allowing you to really just keep sleeping. So what I would encourage you to try, Sonica, is right before you go to bed, make a habit of writing in your journal.
Okay.
Because you might be surprised that things come up in your journal that you didn't realize you were still processing, right? And just, I don't know, sometimes I'm going to sleep with a list of things, like I gotta do this tomorrow, I gotta do that tomorrow, I gotta do it. And if that's in your head, you go to sleep, and a lot of times it disturbs your sleep cycles. But if I have that list in my head, but I just make the habit of, okay, I'm just gonna quickly write down, I'm gonna do this tomorrow, do that tomorrow, I have it on my list. I don't need to remember it, right? So just whatever's on your mind, have a notebook next to you before you go to sleep so you get it out.
Okay.
And then hopefully you won't be waking up. But I wouldn't be too concerned. I think many people do that. I remember when when I was talking to my therapist and I mentioned how I am having trouble sleeping. He specifically said, when you start your day and if you are out in your sunlight, don't wear your sunglasses for the first 15 to 20 minutes, because your body needs the sunlight to know, oh, this is morning, this is daytime, and you need that vitamin, the D, all of it, the energy from the sun to be in tune with the natural circadian rhythm of the day. So if you're home all day and you don't have any exposure to the sun and you're inside, you're not working with nature. You're not in flow with nature. So that's such a great point that I completely forgot about. So I've made it a habit to step outside for 15 to 20 minutes. And that doesn't mean I'm going for a run. It means I literally sit in my backyard and I just read a book, or I have lunch in the backyard with Nora, my daughter, just to get that sun in our bodies and in our systems. That's huge. What a great point you brought up. That will definitely affect you going to sleep, because your body doesn't even know if it's day or night if you're not going outside. But, everyone is very, very different, and you just have to honor you and pay attention. Because I know I'm a slow riser, I know that I need to wake up earlier and do certain things. If you might need more of that time to go to bed, you just pay attention to you and create those routines and rituals around you.
So any other comments or questions?
All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Nalinie. This was really fun.
Yeah, thank you, Miss Amna. We learned a lot. I definitely learned a lot today. So yeah.
You too. What everyone shared was really helpful. All right. Well, have a wonderful day, everybody.